Before I get into all of the weird Christmas traditions that exist across the globe, if somebody came up to you and said, hey, I'm not from America, but I know that America is weird. So America has to have some weird Christmas traditions. What is one thing you would say is weird about what we do?
That's strictly American?
Here's the two things that I thought of. I think eggnog is weird for a lot of people who don't enjoy it.
But is eggnog just from us? Was it invented here?
I don't think anything was invented in America. I'm pretty sure this comes from England.
I think we invented burgers.
But I think eggnog would be weird for some people if you told them it's like, no, it's like heavy milk with egg yolks in it and then some nutmeg. And they'd be like, what?
It's super thick. Yeah.
The other thing I think people would say is weird is, and this isn't really done a lot anymore, but it's still a thing, is decorating the Christmas tree with popcorn.
Okay. Yeah, decorating the Christmas tree with popcorn. Didn't that come from a time when maybe people didn't have a lot of decorations?
Which is still interesting to me because it was like, so you're going to use food?
No, but here's what I remember growing up, right? The popcorn thing, I mean, it was a needle and a thread, right? I mean, you had to needle through the corn.
You had to do some light sewing.
But you can actually go buy now fake popcorn in a string, which is
you can.
Obscene,
It's like
right?
It's like going to Whole Foods and getting a fully peeled orange, making sure that it's still in a container.
Ridiculous. I can remember in school, though, us making chains, paper chains.
Oh, yeah, I did that.
You made chains, paper chains?
Out of like crepe paper?
No. Just construction paper. You would cut it, and then you glue it, in the little.
For sure.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I think the chains are weird. Like a chain. Think about what a chain is used for.
But even still, well, I mean, we do have a history in this country of using chains. I still think that if you choose the right color combinations for your chains, that at least feels festive. But I was trying to think of and it's weird to think of, well, what is weird about what we do to somebody else? And those were the only two things that I came down on. It's weird that we would drink eggy milk
and call it nog.
And it's weird that we would string food around our tree.
Okay, so I'll tell you something that I do think is weird. And you and I kind of touched on this the last time we watched the Christmas Great British Baking Show.
Yep.
They do their Christmas pudding in the microwave.
Well, that was a quick one.
Okay, but it's full of fruit and nuts. Fair enough.
Totally.
But it's soft. So when you cut it, it still looks appetizing, kind of. And then it has a little...
For as appetizing as a black pastry can be.
And then it has a little anglaise or whatever it was over the top, okay? We do still, and we periodically will get one, a rock-hard fruitcake. Mm-hmm. Like, who wants a rock-hard fruitcake?
Well, I don't think anybody wants a rock-hard fruitcake, Deb, but they would want a fruitcake. There are people who thoroughly enjoy fruitcake.
And that in itself is weird, don't you agree?
I mean, it's weird, but we also know that they do it in other countries, so it's not that weird.
Okay, let me just think. Stockings are done in other countries.
Here's one that we've talked about. Just blatantly lying to your kids about a fictitious human being that comes into your house at night, doesn't burglary you, but make sure that your kid's nice enough and worthy enough to give gifts to. That might be weird.
You didn't preface that with the move the children away from the podcast.
We could be talking about Uncle Larry for all I know.
Okay. Or Uncle Roger, as in last week.
Yeah.
I'm trying to just go through it real quick. We decorate our mantle. We have certain foods. We do the gifts. I will tell you, I mean, the tree, at one time there were candles, which I imagine burned a ton of houses down.
What happened, the really good combination was the lit candle and dried popcorn on the dying tree.
On the dying tree, yeah.
So, okay, I couldn't really think of anything besides what I came up with. Clearly, you can't think of anything other. No. So let's just make fun of other countries and their weird traditions, okay?
Okay, go, yeah.
How about in the Ukraine, a cobweb Christmas? Ukrainians use decorations that mimic the natural formation of spider webs shimmering with dew. The tradition goes back to a folktale about a poor widow who could not afford to decorate a tree for her children. Legend has it that the spiders in the house took pity on the family and spun beautiful webs all over the tree, which the children awoke to find on Christmas morning. Spider webs are also considered to be lucky in Ukrainian culture.
Okay, so I'm not going to lie, that's a little weird.
But if you think about it, spider webs can look like snowflakes.
So, and if you have ever seen, and I mean this seriously, a real full spider web, a complete spider web with dew on it, it
big
is
dew guy.
magnificent.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Okay, so I can kind of get behind that one. And apparently there are enough spiders in the Ukraine to make all that happen.
I just think aesthetically they totally mimic that of snowflakes, and so I'm okay with all of that.
I'm good with all of that as well.
How about we bring capitalism to Japan, called Colonel Santa? Back in 1974, the American fast food restaurant KFC released a festive marketing campaign in Japan. The seemingly simple slogan, Kurasama na wa Kentataki, Kentucky for Christmas, spawned a national tradition that still thrives to this day. Although Christmas isn't a national holiday in Japan, families from all over the country head to their local KFC for a special Christmas Eve meal.
You know what is amazing to me? Now listen.
How horrible that is?
No, nothing, no shade on KFC. I've eaten my share of KFC.
We all have.
Okay, now I do want to say, because I'm gluten-free now, I don't eat it. And I do want to say, even before I was gluten-free, it was probably many years ago that I ate it. But who doesn't love deep fried batter with a little chicken in the middle? Okay, I'm just, whatever. I think other nations think KFC is the greatest thing since man. You and I flew into Mexico City Airport.
We did.
And I had been there just a couple weeks before.
You were.
And we went walking by a KFC right after we got out of immigration. And I said, that was not there 2 weeks ago. And it was jam-packed with a line all the way down the hall. They love it.
They love it. And so do the Japanese, apparently.
Yeah, okay.
How about this in Germany? Pickle in the tree. Heard about this one?
I don't know if I like a pickle in the tree.
The Christmas tree tradition embraced around the world today is believed to have started in Germany back in the 16th century, so it comes as no surprise that our continental cousins this is actually an article from England, so definitely not our continental cousins, still have some unique customs relating to the festive conifers. One of these is to hide a pickle somewhere within the branches of the tree and give a gift to whichever child in the household finds it. Okay. Pickle in the tree.
I'm kind of thinking about that, and I'm thinking about, like, okay, it could be a little tiny sweet pickle. That might not be too rancid.
Maybe even a gherkin.
A gherkin, okay? Or it could be, but I mean, gosh, if someone picked a giant dill, that's going to smell.
Doesn't really hide much. I can't imagine that you're picking big pickles.
I mean, today you said you smelled the jalapenos on my
Yeah, you walked in
nachos.
here when I was prepping for the show, and you had made some nachos, and like the jalapeno scent was wafting off of you.
So imagine a pickle in the tree.
Got to dry it off first. Got to dry that pickle off before you put it in the tree. I think you got to dry it off,
and I think you need to set it in a little cardboard, old-fashioned hot dog or French fry tray.
Assuming that they even eat those in Germany.
I know, that's
weird. Well, they do eat Frankfurters.
Yeah.
I think everybody's going to be able to get behind this one. Festive sauna in Finland. Many homes in Finland come equipped with their own sauna, and at Christmas time, this cozy spot becomes a sacred space associated with long dead ancestors. On Christmas Eve, it's customary to strip naked and take a long and respectful stint in the sauna, which is also believed to be home to the legendary sauna elf. After the sauna session, Finns head out to the evening celebrations, while spirits of those ancestors take their place in the bubbling water.
I mean, like the whole
Take
sauna.
a schwitz for your family.
Listen, I can get behind the sauna for sure.
Of course.
Love a good sauna. I don't know if we're all going to get in there naked. I just don't.
Deb, we're getting in there naked for the family.
Seeing that happen.
Get naked for your dead Aunt Susie.
Then here's the other thing. It's like,
because she wants to see you.
You
your
know,
dead aunt wants to see you naked.
In Mexico, I get Day of the Dead.
Right.
Celebrating that. I don't know if I want to celebrate that on Christmas.
Oh, I'm sorry. You hate your people that have passed into the netherworlds?
Let's be honest. Those are our people. I mean, Scandinavian.
And they're
types.
already staring at you naked anyways.
Yeah, so what do they care? So where are they going to go? They're going to go in the water afterwards?
It says they go, they take their place in the bubbling water. I just think like saunas because, they put the water on the rocks and it bubbles and it steams. So that's the bubbling water. Hopefully they're not on the rocks and then dying over.
It's a lot, and it's a lot for a kid to take in too.
Deb hates it. I thought she'd like it. Deb clearly hates the Finns. How about this one in the Netherlands? Shoes by the fire. Every year in the days leading up to December 25th, Dutch children eagerly place their shoes by the fire in hopes that Sinterklaas, spelled Sinterklaas, will fill them with small gifts and treats in the night. Traditionally, carrots are left in the shoes for Sinterklaas's faithful steed, a white horse named Amerigo.
Oh, okay.
No reindeer, only one horse.
I want to say this. I think that is adorable, but only if.
Yep.
that it is like a wooden clog, not some stinky tennis shoe. If it's a wooden clog, then I am there all day and fill it with treats.
You want a real stereotypical Netherlands experience.
I do. That's what I want. So I think everybody in the Netherlands should have a pair of wooden clogs, whether they wear them or not, at any point in time, and we at least bring them out for the holidays.
I miss you, Bjorn.
Oh, Bjorn gave us good content.
Miss you so much every day, my sweet prince.
I know.
How about in Italy? Belfana the Witch forgets Santa in December 25th when in Italy, as all action takes place on the eve of 5th of January. According to folklore, an old woman named Belfana visits all the children of Italy to fill their stockings with candy and leave them presents if they've been good.
You know, that's the whole if they've been good thing that you don't really like. You know,
or Belfana steals your soul. No, it doesn't say that, but I just assume that's what they tell everybody.
You know, it's kind of hard to, I don't know if I'm Belfana. Is it Bell? Like
Belfana, Belfana.
Okay. Belfana, that is, I mean, you're after Santa, technically.
Yep.
That's a hard act to follow.
Let's move to South Africa, where they eat fried caterpillars. When you think of Christmas food, mince pies and turkey are often high on the list if you live in England. In South Africa, however, it's the creepy crawlies that local children look forward to. Festive fried caterpillars may seem like one of the more unusual Christmas traditions, but these caterpillars are just the run-of-the-mill variety you find in the garden.
You know, here's the thing about the whole fried caterpillar thing. I think almost anything fried I could do. I mean, disgusting, yes. But if you give me a good, like, secret sauce, I don't know. I think if I can dip it, I'm good.
I'm with you. This makes sense when we head down under to New Zealand, the alternative Christmas tree. Though all Christmas trees were created equal, that's actually not true down in New Zealand. The Kiwis are all about the Fatukakawa, a beautiful tree that is native to New Zealand with gnarled roots and bright crimson flowers. The first mention of Fatukakawa tree came from Austrian geologist Ferdinand von Hochstetter in 1867. He described locals decorating their churches and homes with its brightly colored branches at Christmas. It is green, it is red, it looks like a poinsettia plant went wild, and it makes all the aesthetic sense to me for Christmas.
Listen, I can get behind different trees, different shapes. One year in Mexico City, I was somewhere and all the trees were hung from the ceiling upside down and decorated.
Cool.
They were fabulous. I mean, fabulous. 1,000 years ago when I worked in retail, there was a guy that I worked with that was ridiculously creative. And I went to his house at Christmas time and he had gotten, and I don't know where he got this because it was in Seattle at the time, but an enormous tumbleweed. And you know how when they're really cleaned out, the tumbleweed after they've tumbled and tumbled. And it was in the corner, and they had very carefully wrapped white lights all through the tumbleweed.
Cool.
And then they had put a little train around the tumbleweed.
Cool.
And then all the gifts. It was, I mean, magnificent. Better than any tree that I had, for sure.
Deb's a fan of the tumbleweed trees.
I'm a fan of doing something different as long as you can make it look great.
This is probably my favorite one.
Okay.
This one comes from, again, our people in Sweden. In 1958, there was a Christmas special called Kalle Anka Akon Hasen Vanner Anskenkurd God Jul.
Kevin, I just need to say this.
Did I pronounce that perfectly?
You did well.
Thank you.
But it doesn't matter if they're Finnish or Ukrainian or Japanese. It just seems like the accent is very similar.
Yeah, probably is.
Okay.
Let me just refresh just so you guys probably missed that so you can write it down. Kalle Ankan Aken Hasen Vanner Akenskardern God Jul. Or Donald Duck and his friends wish you a Merry Christmas. Every Christmas, families around Sweden gather around the television at 3 p.m. sharp to watch Donald deliver his raspy message. Everything on Christmas is planned around the television special, and more than 40% of Swedes still tune in like clockwork to watch it.
Listen, we love the Swedish, and Lord knows I'm looking for a cheap house on a fjord somewhere, right? I am not going to watch Donald Duck
that's sad.
on Christmas. That it's not going to happen.
That's
Can
sad.
you do the Donald Duck talk? Yeah, that. I'm not going to do that. That is not going to happen. No, I mean, I want to say one caveat. If we meet some Swedish people and they invite us for Christmas, and there's like a great smorgasbord, right? And we're like skull and cheers and vodka and all that, I'll watch Donald.
The thing I love about Deb, she makes a firm stance and is easily willing to sell it out as quick as possible. Let's start the podcast.
Welcome to the Deb and Kev podcast. One is a Harvard Business School alum. The other is her son, discussing business, pop culture, family, and everything in between. Now, here are your hosts, Deb and Kev.
Hey, hi, hello, and welcome to the Deb and Kev podcast. Sitting across from me, she looks even better than Willem Dafoe 20 years later. It's my mom, Deb.
I'm Deb.
And that makes me Peter Parker. No, I'm Peter Parker. No, I'm Peter Parker. I'm her son, Kev, and this is our podcast, and we're matching.
So, Kevin has this huge thing. If you even look like you're wearing kind of what he's wearing, he will, first of all, try to really assert himself and make you go change.
Because I was always the first one wearing the clothes.
And if you don't go change, then he will break down and go change.
But we're matching because it's Christmas themed. So I have absolutely no qualms with that.
But let it be known
We will not leave the house wearing the matching clothes.
that we almost bumped into each other. I came down the stairs. You were coming from around the kitchen. And we both looked at each other and went, oh.
Ironically, if you know the Spider-Man meme, it's two Spider-Men pointing at each other, which also references the show Open. We're wearing the exact same outfit, and I'm okay with that. On today's show, we will recap the finale of Survivor 41, and Deb and I could not be happier to be finished with that. Deb will pose a question in her business segment today. Is a chronic overachiever good or bad? I don't know. We'll find out. And we are always in for a treat to see what Deb brings to the table or just flat out makes up in the segment we call Good Job Internet. And like a dinosaur from Jurassic Park, we'll rapture this whole thing up by telling you what's for dinner and what we're thankful for. But first, for those wondering, the last podcast we talked about how my day was really bad, and it was subjective. No, I can appreciate that it was subjective.
I've gotten a couple texts and DMs on that.
Yep. Hey, that's just my existence, and I knew it. I acknowledged it. The day got a little worse. I had another injury. Didn't have to go to the ER, but I probably will have a scar for the rest of my life. So it continued to get worse. Thank you for all of your thoughts and prayers. But I managed to salvage everything. We got the car started.
Yeah.
We got the registration renewed.
There's no we on that. It was all you.
I did it all by myself.
Yeah, did it all. Big boy.
The royal we.
Yeah.
I got a car cover, and it's a thicker, nicer car cover that is
it on
currently
there?
covering the car. Yep.
I'll have to go look.
And my thumb is healing.
Ugh.
I didn't actually fix the metal portion of the fence. That was the problem, so somebody else can suffer along me.
Thank you, God.
But my thumb that I thought for sure was going to get tetanus, we're good.
Yeah. So just to keep life balanced, right? The guy next door still has cancer.
Oh, yeah, Dad. I thought you were talking about the neighbor.
No, the guy next, like in the room next door.
Listen, we're all going through this life experience ultimately by ourselves.
Yeah.
And if we can't sit and sit in the sadness of a day being bad so that we can sit in the happiness of a day being good, what is this all for?
Well, actually, somebody called me today to talk about your little thing on the podcast last time.
Were they crying?
No, they were
Sympathetic tears?
Not so much, but we were laughing about it. And they said, and I loved it when you said, and Dad still has cancer.
Listen, we all know Dad has cancer, but that doesn't stop the rest of us from having a really tough life sometimes, okay? I struggle mightily with that.
So what I said was the best part about this week, and it was kind of a tough week with Dad's health issues, is Kevin, the guy who spent the first part of the podcast whining about
not whining, simply just telling a story of my life.
Things that weren't going, pulls me aside and says, hey, you got to pull it together.
Sure.
You need to be grateful. You're just thinking about the dark things. And then you proceeded to list, which actually was beautiful, all of the good things that are going on in my life.
Sure.
Right? And I thought, why did I not turn on him just like that?
Should have.
I should have.
Didn't.
I missed my chance.
But honestly,
awful.
Here's why I'm absolutely okay with complaining about even the smallest thing, because obviously, even as a one-off, none of that stuff matters, right? Like I know it makes no sense, and usually that's just something that you chalk up to being a really crappy situation and you move on. The fact that it just all kind of happened in the same moment, in the same day, was honestly more laughable than anything, because it was just like, well, what's the next dumb thing going to be? And even when I thought the bad part of the day was over, there was still an element of the day left where I was, ended up with a nice scratch on my finger that I kept bumping, because who even knows that you hit the top of your fingers as much as you do. But once you have a wound on top of it and you manage to bump it all the time, you realize how much you do so.
We're calling it a wound now?
Oh my gosh, Deborah, look at this scar.
Let me see. Hold it up for the world to see.
I don't know that.
Can you find it anymore, honey?
No, it's right there. I don't know that the camera can see it.
Wait, I thought it was on your thumb.
Deb, I have 2 injuries.
Oh, no.
I have the thumb and I have the ring finger of my right
honey.
hand. I was bleeding profusely
I feel
twice.
terrible for you.
I had 2 injuries. I'm a survivor.
You are a survivor. For sure, for sure.
If I was really smart, that would have been my segue into Survivor, and I am really smart. Okay. Survivor sucks. This was a horrible season. It was so bad. I hated every element of it. I thought Survivor was probably given a gift in the form of, they film all of their recent seasons in Fiji. And they film it in Fiji because they have a great rapport with the Fijian government, apparently. So before they could even start filming, they had to come to terms with the Fijian government to make sure that they were so on top of the ball as it related to COVID, because Fiji cannot let COVID run rampant in their small island nation.
Right.
So what I assumed was that because of all the rules and regulations Fiji gave to them, they were going to strip the game back to what we knew in the first 10 seasons 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And they kind of did. But then, like all good things, enough people got their minds together and said, but how do we make it better? Yeah. And when that usually comes out of people's mouths, it makes it worse.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to even recount the finale. It was 3 hours. I'm instead going to say what was painfully clear at the beginning of episode 1 was brought to fruition at the finale, which is a woman of color won.
Yes.
We
call her Erica.
The lone white guy received no votes.
Of course.
And the lone black man received 1 other vote. And so what happened was,
I don't remember who voted for Deshaun.
Danny.
Oh, yeah. Of course.
So Erica, if you've watched the show, the girl who did nothing, literally nothing, but managed to put together a great speech at Final Tribal to tell everyone that although her moves were small, they were calculated. They were thought through. She managed to stay right in the middle the entire time. And whether or not she was deserving of it, whether or not we think it's right or wrong, 8 of her peers voted, and 7 of them found her deserving. So she is the winner of Survivor 41. So here are the questions that I just have for you as it relates to the season that we just painstakingly watched.
Yeah.
Do you think the show's agenda was far too obvious?
It was ridiculously obvious. It was started with like, hey guys, right?
Yeah.
Come on out, guys, or
Hated
whatever.
That.
And then listen, I can appreciate, honestly, some of the conversations that were had.
Totally.
And I will stand by my girl. What was her name?
No idea.
Yeah. You know, I picked 2 girls. I picked Evie and I picked
Liana.
I will stand by Liana's speech all day long.
Yep.
I thought it was articulate. I thought it was point on. I thought it was, it was spectacular. I will forever be offended by Deshaun trying to jump on it a little bit. Do you know what I mean? Because she just did a great job and she should have never gotten voted off at that vote after that speech. Okay.
Agreed.
Never in a million years. So the conversations and all of that, I can get by. The mindfulness about CBS not particularly being, I'm going to say, fair or treating people of color well in the spotlight, I can get behind that all. It was just so obvious. It was obscene. Yeah. I mean, it was too much.
It made you feel like you were a kid. Like somehow they had to spoon feed you the idea of racial inequality as if we haven't been living with that for forever, but front and center for the last 2 years.
Right.
And all of us, white, black, Asian, Latin, every one of us understands that there is inequality in this world.
Well, we should
and we are hopefully all moving in a direction to even the playing field. But when it's so heavy-handed and it's just so over the top, it cheapens what they're trying to do, which is shine a light on it.
Because the truth of the matter is about this game is that we watch it because we like the game.
Yep, we like the human
strategy,
interaction.
We like the human interaction. We like, I mean, honestly, we like the lying. We like all of it, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
big time.
Or we don't like the lying. I mean, whatever it is, but we have an opinion about all of it. This year, it felt to me like they may as well have taken, the few white people and taken their names out of the hat.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And then put all the people of color, put their names in the hat, and then just drawn one. And I will tell you, in the first 3 or 4 episodes, the least likely person would have been Erica.
Absolutely. I agree with you too, that I think what's really interesting is when we talk about this conversation of equality, of course, when you have a number of people from different backgrounds, but majority of them who have won are white, that you would then have to have a bunch of minority winners. And that's not the argument. The argument isn't that the winners need to be of a certain race. The argument needs to be that all people involved had a fair shot and that all people involved felt that they were properly represented. And then within that representation, you pick the best person to win. I do not think Erica was indicative of the season as a whole. I think we all would have preferred Ricard to win. If Ricard couldn't win, we would have been happy with Danny or Chantel or somebody else. But Erica was nothing more than the figure that was supposed to represent the entirety of the season. Even if somebody says to me, hey, Kevin, you picked Xander, so you're biased. I mean, of course, for my ego, I wanted Xander to win. And I literally can't believe that the guy who I thought was gone on week 2 still managed to make the final. At one point, I looked at you and I said, oh my God, did I just win Survivor? But then it was clear just through conversations that nobody felt he played the game really strategic. Nobody felt that he made big enough moves, and I'm okay with that. But if that's your argument, she didn't do anything. She never won anything. The only thing that she ever did was flip the game, and she got the opportunity to flip the game because nobody wanted her anywhere. They didn't want her to participate. They didn't want to take her on the reward challenge. They literally said, you're so useless, go to Exile Island.
Well, I don't understand the part that you said about your ego because I don't think you'd purposely pick a white guy. I mean,
No, my ego being I picked Xander.
Oh, that you just picked the right guy.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you for clarification on that.
Well, I think it was pretty clear because I picked 3 people and one of them was Xander.
So here's the thing about Xander. On day 1, Xander looked to me, and I almost picked him as well, but Xander looked to me like he just had the Survivor stuff. You know how you can kind of identify those people?
Totally.
And then as quickly before that first episode was over, you were like, they all hate him. He's out of here. I mean, like.
Because he has the Survivor stuff.
Exactly. Because he has the Survivor stuff. And they knew he had an idol the entire time. Every single person knew. Nobody ever flushed it out. Xander never played it. That in and of itself was a miracle. Of the 3 people sitting at Tribal, if we don't look at color, the person that played the best game was Xander. I think he did a terrible job of articulating that.
Well, and that's what
I want to say that.
My next question is this.
Himself well.
Do you think you can actually sway the jury during Final Tribal?
Well, I think Erica did. I mean, honestly.
Totally.
Because I think if Deshaun had not been, I don't know, how do I say this, such a prick, had he not been, I think, or if he could have reeled it in, Deshaun just let his ego get in the way over and over and over. If he could have really reeled it in to a humble, beautiful place, and if he could have made some sense of his bad behavior, which we have seen people do on Survivor, right? I don't know that this was a year that you get away with it quite like, other years, but he could, I mean, it should have been Xander first, Deshaun second, and Erica third. But I will tell you, that girl wiped them up with her speeches.
She killed the speech. She was so clear. She was so concise. She was so coherent with what she said. Now, I choose to believe, and this is just based on my opinion as I am who I am. I already know going into Tribal who I'm voting for to win. I already know who I'm voting for to win. It would take a Herculean effort for somebody to talk me off of my stance. They would have to paint the freaking Mona Lisa of their gameplay for me to change off of what my opinion was going into it. So the idea that all of them thought I'm voting for Erica prior to this, or that all of them came to the table and just said I'm a blank slate, I don't know that either of those things are real.
Well, what we have seen in Survivor a couple of different times, it's kind of what is it? The name of the movie? the old original one. Is it called The 12th Man or The Jury or something like that?
12 Angry Jurors.
12 Angry
12 Angry Men.
12 Angry Men. When the one guy convinces
Yeah.
them all, okay? We've seen that happen a couple times in Survivor when somebody really takes a stand on someone's behalf. And Ricard did that for Erica. And he said, I may be the only one that really understands this and knows this.
Yep.
But I think at that point, Ricard was keeping the money from Deshaun and Xander.
I
Is
agree.
what he was doing.
Which again, that in and of itself is not right either, right?
Right.
Whenever I've watched the show, I've always said, I will vote for the person that I think best represents my season. And I'm not going to vote for the person simply because I want a person of color to win. If they did it the best, you have my vote, and I don't care what you look like. But that's what equality is, right? Giving the person the reward because they did the thing deserving of the reward, not because they occupied a space that you felt needed to have a light shown on it.
But here was the thing with Xander that was so perplexing to me. Xander, when you heard Xander have conversations with people over this course of the season,
Yeah,
they were good conversations. They were meaningful conversations. They were insightful.
totally.
I mean, he made a point over and over of saying like, hey, we are friends out of here. I can hardly wait to get to know you away from here. I mean, he did a great job. He just folded in on himself
Yeah, it was
that
bad.
night. Yeah, it was bad.
It was super bad. All right, so here's the other question I have for you. I have two more. How would you change it? So here's what we know about season 42, and we are not going to do a Survivor recap of season 42. They are in timeout right now. We are going to wait to see if they make any necessary changes that would allow us to even stay interested in it. Because I would say that you and I, as it relates to this season, only stayed interested because we made a promise on the podcast to stay interested.
Right.
We will give season 42 the benefit of the doubt. We will start out. But if it's along the same lines as season 41, it's going to be a tough road to hoe for us to want to watch because the tinkering was so much. So they already started filming season 42 while season 41 was airing. So there's not going to be an immediate change to it, especially if they think they got it right.
Yeah,
So-
because they're not getting the public feedback.
Exactly. So they
Right.
won't actually have those changes until potentially season 43, which
Okay.
has yet to start being filmed. How would you, a above average viewer of Survivor, change what you saw in the 26 days?
Well, I would just go back 100% to the original format. I would go back to the 39 days, is it? I would go back to everybody's kind of starving to death except for the rewards and all of that. The rewards would be significant. It's good. I mean, listen, it's good to see them get excited. It's good to see them relax. It's good to see them overeat. It's good to see them throw up. I mean, the whole thing,
Yep.
I would go back to that. Here's what I think they have to do to keep it now where it should be. Number one, it really needs to represent people from everywhere, okay? I mean, it needs, whether it's global or the United States or whatever it is, it needs to represent people from everywhere.
Yep.
Men, women, gay, straight, LGBTQ, people of
Nationalities,
color,
for sure.
everything, okay? So it needs to do that. And then they just need to let it play out. I mean, they need to, like if you're too strong, you're going to get voted out. If you're not strong enough, just let it play. That's what we look for, is the truth of Survivor, is letting it play,
Yep.
right? And I think get your hands out of there and just let it work.
I agree. So I think that what you're talking about, that's not going to happen for a while. They're going to keep it abrupt to 26 days. They're not going to give them a lot of the rewards because I think it's twofold. I think, yes, they know it's only 26 days, so they cut their time by a third, but they also know that they can't bring in people like the representatives from Outback Steakhouse. They
Yeah.
can't bring in family because of all the COVID protocols.
Yeah.
They don't know who they're going to bring in, so they can't bring in the family members of 18 people and keep them in quarantine and then have them stay there for 3 weeks in hopes of revealing it at the end. What I would say is this. What made Survivor great was the gameplay. It was always the gameplay. And if you allow the people who are smart enough and cunning enough, who you vetted to the nth degree and back, to be stewards of the gameplay, then just let them do that.
Yeah.
And then you can edit it and you can heighten the tension. But all this flip the time piece and do you want to risk your vote? And there's all these weird
No.
Get away with that crap.
Yeah.
Nobody wants that crap.
Yeah.
It was stupid. I don't know how all the people who wrote it didn't feel that it was stupid. When you saw it play on TV, I can't believe you would have thought that that looked good. It was too much. You tinkered with it too much and you made it worse. Just let it be about people outwitting other people.
And guess who it's not about?
White people.
Jeff Probst.
Oh, got it. Jeff
well,
Probst.
he's a white guy
See,
too.
I was kind of right.
So you were kind of white, but it's not about him. I mean, I think, like I like snarky Jeff sometimes.
Yeah.
I like really nice Jeff sometimes.
Yeah.
I like tender Jeff, but I just like Jeff adapting to whatever scenario is there.
Yep.
I don't need Jeff turning and talking into the
No,
camera.
I hate that.
Except when he says, it's the end, it's over. I'll
Yep.
see you in LA,
Yep.
right? I mean, like that is the only time Jeff should ever turn and look into the camera.
Quit breaking the fourth wall. Here's the last question that I have for you. Was that the best fire making challenge you've ever seen on Survivor?
That was the best fire making challenge I've ever seen on Survivor.
Let me set the stage. So Xander wins final immunity, which means he gets to pick one person to sit next to him. And the argument was he should have picked Heather to sit next to him because she was clearly no threat. But he actually ended up picking Erica, which we all know now backfired on him. So then it was up to Heather and Deshaun to make fire. And whoever built the tallest fire that burnt the string and the flag flips up, that's who won. Usually these things are so horribly one-sided. Somebody's getting absolutely dump trucked.
Yeah.
Like to the point that the fire is blazing and the person's still like trying to light a spark.
like still blowing. Like,
These two managed to individually build huge flat fires and then have their fires go out. That's Deshaun did it first.
Yeah.
Then Heather, who looked dead in the water, built this huge fire and had it diminish. And then Deshaun, who like had to start all over, managed to get a fire up. And then they both kind of started licking the
rope.
What was the rope? The hemp rope. And I've never seen two fires raging simultaneously where you can see the embers flying off of the rope. And then Deshaun, out of nowhere, his rope snaps, his flag goes up, he wins. And within the same shot, you see Heather's snap, flag goes up. I've never seen anything like that at all. That was the most compelling part of this season.
there was so much tension watching it back and forth. Yeah, it was incredible. I mean, his whole fire went out. Like
Gone.
he had to completely start over. So I don't know. It was great. Didn't think Deshaun stood a chance.
Nope.
And that would have been so interesting because had it been Heather, then I really could have, my mind could have gotten around the Erica thing a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because we would have had Heather, who's like, well, come on, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then Xander. But
I think Deshaun would have won 8-0. If Xander would have brought Heather and Deshaun beat Eric in the fire, I think Deshaun would have won 8-0.
I agree.
That's Survivor. We'll wait to see what season 42 is like, and then if we feel compelled to do a recap on season 43, we'll do it, but we probably won't.
Here's what I want to say. We reserve the right to speak about Survivor.
It's our podcast.
It's our podcast whenever we want. And if it's not in any kind of order, and if it's not, week by week, season by season, so be it. We'll just talk about it when we want.
Exactly. And right now we want to talk about Deb's business segment.
What was the name of it again?
That's a really good question, Deb. Let me scroll back up to find exactly what we're talking about here. Oh, you posed a question. I posed a question that you had posed to me, which is a chronic overachiever a good thing or a bad thing in the workplace?
So what is your take on that, Kev?
Chronic overachiever. Well, let me just look back on my life of chronically overachieving at all things. Here's what I know about being the best at everything that you do. This is my own story. A lot of people resent it who are equal to or lower than you.
Yeah.
While your superiors
Lower,
like on the totem pole.
Oh, okay.
Or just in the scheme of life.
Okay, that's where I hope you weren't going to go.
Well, clearly I was going to go there at the point that you called it out. And so I think for a lot of people who are equal to or lower than you on the totem pole, the professional standard, they hate you. They hate you because they feel like you're kiss ass or you're a brown noser or that you're trying too hard making everybody else look bad. Conversely, if you look up and management is looking down at you, they think you're the greatest thing in the world. You're the greatest thing since sliced bread because you probably don't need to be managed as much because you maybe work some longer hours or it feels like you're working longer hours or you're putting more effort into your work because you're a chronic overachiever. And so I think it's this weird duality of depending on where you fall in the pecking order of your business, you're going to have people that are totally your advocates and who love you and who would never say anything bad about you. And then you're going to have other people who begrudge your existence and want nothing more than to work in an environment without you.
So, I mean, I don't disagree with what you're saying.
Okay.
But I might take a little bit different spin on this. So, I think it's great to be ambitious. I think it's great to want to move up, to want to do well, to want to be excellent, to want to excel. I think that is all terrific. I do think, though, and I would say for us as a nation, we're beginning to see this. You know, we've talked about work-life balance for 1,000 years, but it's only been recently that I've really seen people put it into, I'm going to call hard and fast play, meaning.
But why is that? Why are people putting that into hard and fast play?
I think it's the new generation.
Okay.
And then I think COVID had a big impact on it as well.
Can I also add that we have now seen over the course of the less than 15 years how fragile life is, both financially and health-wise, to where people are now understanding that to just live to work is the worst thing you can do, because none of that is promised to you and time can be utterly fleeting. So you have no choice but to find that balance.
I agree. I mean, I agree with that wholeheartedly. So while I was saying I think it's great to be ambitious. What I think ends up being a problem is when you are relentless in your pursuit to the exclusion of all other things.
Oh, got it.
Okay?
Like you want to be the best.
That you just, and that you can't let it go. And we all know that person. They can't let it go. They can't stop. They can't even have a conversation probably about much other than work or the next project or their next achievement or that kind of thing. And I do think as employers, I think when I see people like that in today's world, I mean, some of my filters go, when are they going to fall? When are they going to burn out? When are they going to drop? Because that is hard. Now, I know there are other employers that will go, I will burn them as long as I can. Do you mean as long as that person is willing to do it? I mean, the whole Gordon Gekko, all of that kind of stuff.
Greed is good.
Greed is good, exactly. But I do think, I want to say, a healthy employee, and to be ambitious is great, but at what cost? And I think like to say that your personal life is the cost is too much. And I don't care if you're single, if you're married, if you have children, if you don't. I mean, I'm just going to say your life away from work. That's too big of a cost, whatever that is.
Oh, so what you're saying is you're reflecting back on the overachiever somehow cheapening their life experience. You're not even looking at how they affect the people around them. What you're saying is, hey, be careful at the win at all costs mentality, because you're probably sacrificing some cool life moments in retrospect.
I think, and with that, I will say I will include what you just said, and you're sacrificing some cool life relationships too, okay?
Fair.
So I think a little bit of it is, if I had a whole room of, chronic overachievers, what I would say is something has happened somewhere in your life. Probably parental, not going to lie, probably an early teacher, somebody like that, an early mentor that really led you to believe, whether it was purposefully or not, that somehow your self-worth was tied into achievement, right? And so, I mean, I do think that is the kind of thing where it requires some self-reflection, like, where did I get this idea? Why is my worthiness tied to that kind of thing?
Yeah.
And is it sort of rabid where I just can't stop? Do you know what I mean? Like, it is addictive for me to some degree. And if that's the case, I would say, hey, if that's decades of programming, you're probably going to need some help unprogramming that. But I mean, it starts with you looking at it and saying, I might like my life to look differently, right? And so I think that's the first part about doing some self-reflection.
So what you're actually saying is, are you looking at the individual and saying like, hey, I actually have no problem with you wanting to be the best.
Yep.
But what I don't want you to do is try so earnestly to be the best that you, unbeknownst to yourself, burn yourself out and I lose an otherwise great employee if you're just willing to dial it back 10%.
Right, exactly. And, we've said on this podcast before, like, in some cases, B is good enough.
Yep.
I mean, B is fine. And everybody would agree B is fine.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the boss, everybody. The other part of it, I think, is, and I think this is the part I think that's, really, really hard. But there is something that you've tied your, like I said, your value or your worth to that thing. but nobody else does. I mean, people only do that within the constraints of work, right? And so, I mean, well, you know, Aunt Ginny might say, how is work going? Because she has nothing else to ask you about, right? I mean, she cares how work is going, but really Aunt Ginny probably cares about if you're happy and about your character.
Sure.
And are you traveling and are you, or whatever, you know? But we don't ask those kind of questions. We ask like, who are you dating and how is work?
Are you okay with people who say, I'm going to work balls to the wall for the next 3 years? I'm going to try to achieve the financial heights of which I've never known, so that after that 3 years, when I'm exhausted, I know that I can dial it back a little bit or even decrease my workload, but know that I'm further ahead having done what I did for 3 years.
I'm totally okay with doing that. You and I talked about that. What were those people called?
There was some term that people used for millennials and Gen Zers who were taking advantage of working from home and doing 2 jobs simultaneously, like poly workers or something like that.
Right. So listen, if it's part of a plan, but you know, let's remember that we don't want the plan to become habitual, right? And we need to know when to end the plan because you get on that treadmill and it is hard to get off.
Sure.
I mean, there's no lie about that. I think that one of the things is that we have to kind of challenge our own assumptions. Like, what am I telling myself? I mean, like, I'm like, so what? I'm so cool if I'm rich. I'm so cool if I'm successful. I'm so what? I mean, what is that narrative in our head? You know, people are going to like me more. I'm more popular. I mean, that actually none of that is true. I mean, we know that people are attracted to influence and power.
Yeah.
We know that for sure. But I mean, that could be for all the wrong reasons too.
I'm going to tell you this because if you think that other people are going to find your financial successes somehow appeasing to them, the only way they're going to know it is if you tell it to them, which who likes anybody that brags about how much money they make?
Right.
Or you start buying an ungodly amount of expensive items, which again, who likes knowing anybody that tries to flash their money in the form of objects in front of them?
And yet we know, everybody knows somebody that will tell you, oh, he's so successful, or oh, she's so wealthy. You have no idea how much money she makes.
The amount of times I have rolled my eyes at Deb's new Lamborghini in the driveway is nauseating to me. It's nauseating to me.
And here's the thing, when they say, I mean, and I've had this happen when someone say, oh, she makes so much money.
Yeah.
And then I'll go, how much money does she make?
Right.
I mean, like,
right.
And like nobody knows.
Of course not.
It's just a rumor that people are repeating from perceptions that are being given off.
She makes so much money, but boy, her credit card debt is wild.
Yeah. So I think the answer to this, because I want ambitious people to work for me.
Of course.
I want people with a healthy work-life balance to work with me as well. Okay. So I think we need to redefine success a little bit. And I think that requires taking a little bit of a holistic view at it, meaning look at your whole life, if you will, and realize that it's not just about professional accomplishments. And what else do you want to achieve? And I know I was talking to somebody this week and they were talking about our relationship and they said, like, I wish that people knew the two of you the way I know you, because like you two just genuinely like each other. Forget the mother-son thing.
It's true.
Like, you think each other is funny. You'll make fun of each other. I mean,
imagine the last 2 years if you and I didn't like each other.
Oh my God.
There would have been murder, suicides everywhere.
And it was really funny because our friend Haley, who has a 4-year-old, had said to me, her daughter's name is Lila, and she said, listen, I mean, I don't know if I should say this out loud, but I'll be really happy if Lila still lives with us when she's 37. And so it's like,
you're welcome.
Oh, you're exactly, Haley. Haley and Justin, you're welcome. Call us when she's still there. But I do think there are things that you have to know that you want in your personal life.
Yep.
That also it's a measure of success for you, you know?
Sure.
And so whether it's a really quality relationship with a friend, I mean, a family member, you know, I don't care who it is, whether it's like, you know, there's some hobby that you really want to be able to take the time to excel at, whether it's just giving yourself time to read the books you want to read or travel or do the things you want to do, you need to mark some of those things as elements of success in your whole life, not just how much money you make, what you're called at work, and how people perceive you professionally.
Take some time, stop and smell the roses.
Well, Kevin, if it had been that simple, I would have just said that in the beginning, for heaven's sake.
You can't take any of the money and any of the stuff with you anyway. So enjoy life as you know it. Enjoy the family, enjoy the friendship. Find a job that you're passionate about that fills you up. But stop and smell the roses.
Listen, I got up this morning and I came downstairs, and Dad today was a very good day. For some reason, without any drugs, he is completely pain-free today and has had a sleepy but good day. And I said to him, do you want a cappuccino? And he looked at me and he said, like, he pointed to he had a cup of coffee. And he said, like that size, a regular coffee cup. And I knew he doesn't drink that much milk,
right?
And I go, no, like, the little gray cups, the espresso cups. Do you want a cappuccino in that? And he goes, are you having one? I said, I am. And he goes, I'll have one if you'll have yours with me in here.
There you go.
And it was like the sweetest moment. We had some, there was an essential oil. There was a little Christmas music playing. Both of the dogs were in the room. It's a little snowy outside. And we just sat and had our cappuccinos together. I was present. I was mindful of it. It was the sweetest moment. Listen, he happens to have cancer, so I am probably really aware of these moments. But I am telling you, those are the moments that everybody needs to be having all of the time in their life, and be observant of them, because those are the things that are going to last, and those are the things that are going to serve you for time and eternity in terms of valuable memories.
Before Deb starts making herself cry, let's quickly transition from that topic.
I'm good.
Deb.
Yes.
Are you remotely ready?
No, because I hate this, but I think I have an answer.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
We call this segment Good Job Internet. And if those of you who are new to the show don't listen to what Deb's about to say, listen to how this segment's supposed to go.
Yeah.
We go to the internet, the thing all of us access a billion times a day.
Yeah.
And we try to find things that make us smile, that make us laugh, that make us cry, that gives us that heartfelt emotion.
Yeah.
So afterwards we can say, good job, internet. Now, those are the marching orders. That's it. We have done this segment 5 or 6 times.
Yeah.
Deb, hit us with what you got.
Okay, well, it's not that.
Unbelievable.
Kev, every time you say, you need to call it something different.
It's the most straightforward title other than Deb's business segment.
Good job, internet. I think I need to applaud the internet for something. So I'm going to.
You're applauding the internet for giving you a good story that made you feel good. How have we done this so many times and you still don't fundamentally understand it?
So maybe I don't have it exactly right.
Oh, clearly.
My first one is, it may not be really good job internet. I think it is. It could be good job Wi-Fi, good job iPhone, but.
Oh my. She is making this up as she speaks.
I swear to God, this is true. So this week or last week, when were you in Pennsylvania?
2 weeks ago.
I was talking to Dad.
Okay.
And he said to me, because he can't always keep all the players straight, right?
In life?
Yes. Yeah. So he said, where is Kevin? I said, he's in Pennsylvania. He said, have you been there? Do you know who he's with? I said, I know exactly who he's with, right? And I said, he's with our friends Kummel and Eric. He's staying at Kummel's house, right? And he said, have you stayed there? And I said, I have. And he said, oh, nice. And, he was just asking about them. I said, Kevin's going to love staying there because I said, they just have trick stuff everywhere, like his kind of thing. And Dad said, like what? And I go, well.
How? I know where you're going. How do you think this has anything to do with the internet?
So I proceed to
I know exactly where you're going.
About the bidets, right, that they have and how cool they are and the remote controls. Okay, that's it. And he just goes, fast forward this week. I am getting inundated with stuff on bidets for the toilet top from the internet. I mean, I'm getting it everywhere. I'm getting it on Facebook.
I'm so annoyed.
Instagram.
This is
so good job, internet, for literally, trying to get me.
This is the dumbest segment we've ever done. This is the worst thing you have ever done.
I've got others.
What? You're applauding the internet.
Yeah.
Google, Facebook,
Yes. Yeah.
Instagram for doing the thing we all hate, which is eavesdropping on our conversations and then spitting it back at us.
Literally, I'm just saying things like this now. Like,
Yeah, Deb,
hey, Kev.
Welcome to existence.
Hey, Kev, do you think bidets are cool? And now they'll show up everywhere.
Deborah,
okay?
You're fired.
Good
you
job.
are so unbelievably
we can
fired.
go to number 2.
No,
Go
I'll
ahead.
go to my number 1.
Okay.
Which actually exists on the internet and follows the brief necessary to do the thing we
Okay.
call good job internet.
Okay, go ahead.
Video number 1.
All right.
I'm assuming this video takes place somewhere in the Midwest, okay? An older woman has decorated her garage door. It's a white roll-up garage door. And she's decorated with what looks like kind of dollar store cardboard decorations, right?
Oh, just put like things on it?
Yeah, and they're kind of small, and it feels like they're meant for schools. Definitely not.
yeah.
They're in no way meant to be outside because I
Okay.
think they're 100% cardboard, and they're too small against the backdrop of the garage door.
Okay.
And she's tried to like spread them out evenly, and there's like a wreath and some ornaments, and there's like images of Jesus in the manger, but they're so small, and they're on like the garage tiles. So there's no like like congruency to it, right?
Right,
There's no
right.
fluidity to it. It's just weird. But she's tried. She's tried.
Yep.
She's trying to harness the Christmas spirit. Okay. What she also has is a bunch of cardboard letters that you can clearly tell spell out Merry Christmas. That's what it's supposed to say. Okay. It's supposed to say Merry Christmas. Now, whether or not these things are taped on there or they're hanging on something, it's clear that these letters are adjustable.
Okay.
And while nobody was home or while nobody was looking, and if there are kids listening, earmuffs to all the kids. If you have a kid, put your hands over their ears. And somebody took the letters that spell out Merry Christmas and they rearranged them instead to say creamy shits.
Oh, no. No.
She's so upset with this. So like there's like a couple M's and an A left over, and whoever rearranged it just like put them on the upper quadrant of the garage door.
Oh, no.
So it's like the baby Jesus and ornaments and wreaths, and right in the middle of the garage for all the neighborhood to say, it says creamy shits.
Oh, no. And it shows her reaction?
Oh, sure.
Okay, you have to post that. I have to see that. That's a good one.
That's a good one. Good
That's a
job,
good one.
internet. All right, Deb, what
Wait.
BS do you have coming our way?
Good job, internet, and good job, Kevin,
For what?
for finding a good thing.
Oh, for doing the segment
doing the
correctly?
segment
Thanks.
correct. Okay.
Thanks so much.
Okay, my second one is...
She's not looking at anything. She's looking up and to the right. She is literally making this up. She has nothing in front of her. Nothing. She's not looking at her computer. She's not looking at her phone. The two main sources of the internet, she has not referenced. She is looking at the wall, coming up with something. Wait for it.
You don't know what's on my computer.
I know nothing is on your computer.
Oh my God, you're a horrible, horrible, horrible human being. Okay, so this is a holiday one.
Okay. Cool.
And it's a girl. And her Instagram handle is It's Miranda Derrick.
Is this the dancer again?
Yes.
Oh my, Deb, you've already used this
I
in
know,
another one that you
no.
failed
I
at.
used a guy.
No, you've already referenced her as something else because you failed to do your homework again. You've already lied so much about doing this. You're cycling back through.
I hate it. It's a good job.
You're cycling back through. I got it. I'll pick up the slack here. Here we go.
Okay.
Video number 2.
Okay.
Great
thanks.
job, Deb. Good job, internet.
I hate good job, internet.
There's a close-up of a father giving a toast, and he kind of looks like a blue-collar, hard-nosed type of guy, right? And he's giving a toast clearly at a wedding. He's wearing a tuxedo.
Okay.
And he says something to the effect of like, all my daughter has ever wanted was to get married and get rid of her last name, which is Hickey.
Oh, yeah.
And the video cuts to the bride and the groom, and they're both like laughing, and the groom leans over and gives her a kiss on the cheek, and everybody, like, we're clearly building to what the reveal is going to be, right? And the camera goes back to the dad, and he's just kind of chuckling, and with a very straight face, he goes, "Congratulations, you did it, Mrs. Cox."
Oh, I love that. That's
and what's
good.
great
Yeah.
is Cox is spelled COCKS. So you can't even hide from it.
It's not
It's
COX.
just full blown. And then it pans back to her and the husband, and right behind them, which you don't realize the first time, is spelled out in cursive. It says the Cox.
Oh, perfect.
So she traded a hickey for some cocks.
I love that. I mean, I wish I had another turn coming, but I'm
Deb,
just a big
I wish
fail.
you had another turn too. But here we go. Deb,
Yes.
Stop me if you've heard this in the last 2 weeks.
Okay.
Bing bong.
No, I haven't heard that.
Bing bong. Okay.
Okay.
Then I'm going to educate you on the viral sensation that is taking over TikTok and the internet.
Is this the thing where they beat each other with the rappers?
No, but talk about that.
So there was this thing where, okay, so picture like if I bought like 4 new rolls of wrapping paper.
Okay.
Okay, but the paper's on there. Do you know what I
Okay.
mean? It's in the original wrapper. And then like there's a dad sitting down, there's a daughter behind him.
Okay.
And there like some like song comes on that has a real specific beat. And she starts like beating the dad on the shoulders, on the side of the head, on the top of the head.
Nope.
I mean, perfect.
But I love
tune.
it. Sounds great.
But then the dad, because there's a beat underneath that it comes up fast. The dad's just sitting there taking it. And then the dad pops up with 2 and just beats it the front of his face really fast to the beat of the new thing that comes
that's
up.
fun.
Yeah, that was good.
I mean, imagine if you would have seen that video and taken some detailed notes about it. That would have been like great for a segment we call Good Job Internet.
it didn't seem like such a good job, Internet. But
Let me explain to you the viral sensation that is Bing Bong.
would I ever see this on Instagram or is it TikTok?
I can't believe you haven't seen it. It's
okay.
everywhere.
Oh, okay.
So the audio clips going around TikTok come from a 1-minute New York City street show featured on Instagram called Side Talk. And it's hosted by these 2 guys, Jack Byrne and Trent Simonian.
Simonian?
Simonian.
Simonian.
Simonian. And what they do is they pretty much just go throughout the boroughs. And like this one dude's like big, like overweight kind of Puerto Rican with like the perfectly trimmed beard. He's always wearing some type of New York hat. He's got a gold chain. You know, he looks out of central casting for New York. And I think the other guy's this kind of like hip, cool black guy. And they're just interviewing people on the streets of like the Bronx, of Queens, of Coney Island. And their one video that went viral is like them interviewing all these people with like real quick edits, snapping like quick snaps of audio, and it's all of these people who are just like insane. They're absolutely off the wall insane, saying these weird things totally out of context, but the edits are so fast, they're hilarious, right? So one of the things that they interview some guy who's in his car in a polo shirt in a minivan, and they have the microphone up to him, and he says something that I won't say on the podcast. He goes, "Blank your life." And then it's a quick edit and goes, bing bong. And then they interview this other black guy who's got 2 pit bulls in his hand. He's wearing a construction hat, and he looks at the camera and he says, "If you see these 2 dogs in the front yard, just know upstairs I'm going hard." Bing bong. And then they interview this guy who's clearly homeless, who's clearly derelict on something, right? And they refer to, I think it's their accent, but they refer to Joe Biden as Joe Byron. It sounds like Joe Byron.
Okay.
And one of the hosts looks at this guy who's clearly homeless and on something and says, "What would you like to say to Joe Byron right now?" And the guy, raspy smoker's cough, goes, "What would you like to say to Joe Byron right now?" And he goes, "Sup, baby? Take me out to dinner," right? So it's these weird, really off the, just no common sense words that are being said, right? So then what happens is TikTok, you can lip sync to anything.
Right.
So this just explodes to like people who look like you and I saying, "Bing bong, what's up, baby? Take me out to dinner," right? All this stuff. And it starts gathering more and more. And you start seeing it on Twitter, and you start seeing it on Instagram and Facebook. Come to find out, like all great things on the internet, the celebrities take it over and it just reaches monster levels. Like Lil Nas X started doing it at some like after party award show. So he's got all of these musicians doing it. The guy who said, there's another video where the guy who's the same kind of derelict homeless guy, one of the hosts says, "What are you thankful for Thanksgiving?" He goes, "Beans, rice, Jesus Christ, and Byron," meaning Joe Biden, Byron. And that guy's name is, I think they only refer to him as TJ. He's currently, as they refer to him as, unhoused. Somebody started a GoFundMe for him. $30,000.
Oh, good for him.
He's living in a home now because of the weird comments he made on a minute-long TikTok show.
Love it.
Doesn't stop there. So the running joke is they just keep referring to everybody as like they keep referring to as the sitting president Joe Biden as Byron, right?
Yeah.
New Jonas Brothers, Joe Jonas, released a video 2 days ago. And it's like he and his brothers, Nick and Kevin, and they're like dressed in in Christmas garb. Like they look really nice.
Yeah.
And where they're filming all of this stuff is like very, very opulent.
Mm-hmm.
And they're doing all the sound bites. Bing bong. What would you like to say to Joe Biden? What's up, baby? Take me out to dinner. Right? All of these things. And then they stop lip syncing, the lip dubbing, if you will. And Kevin turns to the camera and says, "Do you think we have it?" And the camera flips, and it's Joe Biden holding a cell phone saying, "Yeah, I think we got it." These guys,
my God,
in the less than 6 weeks, went from just this insane video to the president of the United States being involved in it.
that is amazing.
It's amazing.
That is amazing.
On top of it, one of the guys who was on house now has $30,000 at his disposal. I don't know if you just give it to him or if you put it in an account or if you, I don't know, try to do right by him and not just letting him spend it on drugs and alcohol. But there's money for him now.
Hopefully you go buy him someplace that he can really live in.
Explaining this was infinitely harder than I thought it was going to be. But if anybody wants to understand what I'm saying, just Google Bing Bong videos and you will fall down the deepest of rabbit holes, and it is phenomenal. These sounds, these audio clips have been turned into EDM songs, Christmas songs.
Is this the one where, okay, the only one I was trying to think as you were describing it all, I have not heard the Byron, all of that.
Byron.
But is there one of a woman that goes, I think she's asked about Thanksgiving, like, what are you going to do? And she goes, I'm just going to eat and get fat. And I mean,
I don't think so.
No?
No.
Okay, then I don't know. I have to Google it. Yeah.
Beans, rice, Jesus Christ, and Byron.
Yeah.
It's
Byron.
great. It's
and now he'll
hilarious.
be referred to as Byron. For sure. I love it.
That was good job,
Internet.
Internet.
Good job. I think you did a good job. But I think if people don't know it, we've got to Google it and figure it out.
What do I have to do
Yeah.
to get you to do good job, Internet, right?
Okay. So I had like 2 times where you said I did a good job.
Totally.
Yeah. And I believe this was my idea. Was it my? No, this wasn't my idea.
I don't think so.
Okay.
No, the news, which we will probably do on
it's
Thursday,
the news. Yeah.
is your idea.
The news is my
and
idea.
even that's hit or miss.
That's hard for me too, apparently. Good job, Internet. I need like 48 hours notice. Today, you notified me today.
Deal. If the deal is this,
Yeah.
that you need 40,
Yeah.
I didn't let you know today. I let you know yesterday. That's a lie. I let you know yesterday.
I'm going to look at my phone right now.
Absolutely.
Okay. Because I
If the
think
deal
it was
is
today.
this, it definitely wasn't today. If the deal is this, Deborah, look up and then you owe me 3 apologies when you're wrong. You owe me 3 of them.
Okay.
If the deal, though, is that you need 48 hours of leeway to be able to find any
Oh,
video.
yeah. Yesterday at 7:22 p.m.
3 apologies.
Kevin, I'm really sorry.
1.
Kev, I am genuinely sorry. Kev, sorry is my middle name. There you go.
No, you just defined what your middle name is.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you. You will now have 48 hours to
Okay,
desperately
thank you.
try to find
Thank you.
things
You know
on
what
the
I
internet.
do? It's like before I go to bed, I'll sit and I'll find something. Then I've got to get confident with selling it. That's the other part of it. You're so good at it. You know, it's one of those things that I make competitive. I shouldn't.
I don't know why.
I
That's
know,
the
I
weirdest
do,
thing.
though.
Bing bong.
Yeah.
All right, Deb, let's wind this whole thing up by
Okay.
you telling me what's for diner.
So I have some stew meat that I need to use.
Okay.
So I was just looking for some recipes online. So I know I've featured a beef stew before. However, in this beef stew, I'm just going to cook the meat in the Instant Pot, what makes it very tender, with the sauce. And then every single vegetable is going to be roasted in the oven, like roasted kind of crispy, like nice.
Delicious.
And then just dump them in. So I want to see, obviously if you leave them in forever, they're going to be like a normal beef stew, but I want to see upon serving if we feel like it makes a huge difference. So it's going to be a beef stew with truly separate roasted vegetables that will be put in the beef stew at the last minute.
For like a textural component.
Or a textural component, yeah.
Do we put it over something?
No, it's going to be standalone, like beef
Got
stew
it.
by itself. They'll have roasted potatoes and roasted carrots.
That sounds like it'd be amazing leftovers because it's supposed to like snow here all week.
Oh, good. Well, then we'll make a lot. But I want to see if it really makes a difference from like a traditional beef stew that you kind of slow cook all day.
Yeah.
That
sounds delicious and like perfect for the weather that we're having
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
Absolutely delicious. Yeah. All right, Deb, what are you thankful for this week? I know what you're going to say, and you can take it, and then I have my own.
Oh, well, I don't know. I don't think you do know what I'm going to say.
Oh.
Because I'm going to start my thankful up with just a little baby wine.
Okay.
Like this week, I want to tell you, every medical worker almost that I came in contact with got on my last nerve.
Mm-hmm.
I was like cursing, doctors, nurses. I mean, not to their faces, but I might have repeated the same question to several people like 200 times. And I had a lot of frustration in advocating for Dad.
Sure.
But what I'm thankful for, in spite of all of what I would call ineptness, non-caring, really not nice people that I felt like I encountered, there were a couple of really bright spots. So I am incredibly grateful for a girl named Elizabeth who works at a local hospital. And I am telling you, something had supposedly been faxed so that Dad could get a CT scan, and then it's a stat fax. So we're supposed to follow up, with the hospital or the place that's doing it. And it is lost. It is gone. It can't be found. So nothing is stat. And this is like 3:00 in the afternoon, and they're trying to get it done by the end of that day. And this girl finally just said to me, Mrs. Senior, give me your phone number. I can imagine that you are so frustrated you can't bear it. I am going to fix this for you, and I'm going to fix it for you today. And she went back to the source of the problem.
Heck yeah, Lizzie.
And she got everything she needed, and she set up everything that needed to be done, and she restored my faith in humanity. So I'm incredibly grateful for her and people like her. I know there are more of her out there. I just need to be able to find them. And then I'm incredibly grateful because as of about, 24 hours ago, Dad's pain, for whatever reason, he's been in a lot of pain, has seemingly disappeared. So whatever that reason is, whoever is responsible for it, I am grateful that he has enjoyed a day where he has rested, where we've had cappuccinos together, where he's watched a little golf, and he is pain-free.
Those are good. You've missed a massive one.
Which was?
Monster.
What?
But I'm happy to have it. We had our friend Bijan come from
Oh, I was going to
London.
say that.
But you didn't, so it's mine. And again, the reason it's great is it's those moments that you desperately wanted during COVID. And it's even heightened because it's a friend who lives in a foreign country.
Yep.
Who's in LA for 2 weeks, came up literally just for lunch. The day could not have gone more flawlessly from when we picked him up to as long as it took us to go up to the lake, to the perfect lunch that we had, to the photos that we were able to take, to the even keel drive back, to dropping him off right as the flight was leaving. Like in totality, we only spent a couple of hours together. But if I would have planned it, I could not have planned it better than it actually executed. And as somebody who has a history on this podcast of hating to drive and hating all the other people on the road who drive, it was effortless. It was flawless. And then you couple that by being able to spend time with somebody who we haven't seen in years and getting lost in conversations and just having an amazing time. It was so much fun.
It was, I would say, the perfect respite that you and I needed this holiday season.
Yep.
It is a reminder that it doesn't have to be days and days of respite.
No.
Really, it was short. We just adore him. He was hysterical. We had great conversation. And I want to say, driving up to Tahoe, it was like the snow dumped on the trees just for us. It was
beautiful.
Absolutely beautiful. So, no, you're right. It was an incredible gift. I guess I should include in the thank you is Dad had a doctor's appointment and his friend Tony took him so that we could do that.
Shout out Big Tony the Tiger.
Shout out Tony.
My other thankful is even if you're not into comic book movies, especially the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the new Spider-Man movie is amazing. It is so good. The Herculean effort it took for them to do what they did in that movie, chef's kiss. It was phenomenal. I thought it was so good. I don't know that it's better than the other two Spider-Man movies, but what they were able to accomplish with the huge cast that they had, it was amazing. Worth your time. Worth your time, even if you don't have any understanding of it. It's worth your time.
You know, the thing about you and movies is you are highly critical of movies.
Yep.
I mean, like super, super critical. So when you come home and you've watched something that you're that excited about,
Yep.
I don't know, Kev, I feel like, I don't know, maybe you should be a movie critic. I mean, people should listen.
I would love to be a movie critic until I actually read what real movie critics write. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, that's just insane.
Too much?
Yeah, they actually have an education in this. And I
Yeah.
would just be the guy who literally lives with his parents, be like, oh, yeah, I'd go see that movie again.
Yeah, but remember, living with your parents is cool, honey.
It's cool to the people who want their kids to live with them. It's not cool for the majority of other people.
Well, they don't know.
Those are my thankfuls. I will say this before we leave. You have a red background. It's normally pink, but your background is red. My background is normally light blue and it's green. You look so much better with your red background than I do with my green background. I look like washed out. You look like warm and your complexion looks good.
Well, do you think like the pink is, I mean, because it's pink.
I think you probably look the exact same, but because we both just look so starkly
Right.
different on this camera, it's making me more self-conscious.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
Kev.
because I'm happy that you look great.
Oh, well, listen, I'm happy I look great because on any given day, I'm thinking I look pretty tired.
Same.
So thank you.
I know the last week I keep
Yeah.
looking in the mirror. I'm like, you're getting 8 hours, dude. Why do you look so tired?
No, it is. Listen, I the other night, Dad was not feeling well, and so we kind of like doped him up, trying to get him to get some sleep. And I listed all the pills that I gave to him, to you.
Yeah.
And then I said I went upstairs and took one Tylenol PM and passed out.
Yeah.
You know, like that's all it took. So
I get
hey,
it, but you look good today. Nobody
thank
would
you,
know the
sweetheart.
difference.
Thank you.
But that is going to do it for this Monday's episode of the Deb and Kev podcast. It's the holiday season. Give back by liking, rating, and reviewing wherever you listen to this podcast, and tell your friends and family about it when you see them this holiday season. It's just the Deb and Kev podcast. Throw us 5 stars, throw us a follow, and that's all you got to do. And then if you're feeling real jolly, feel free to follow us at all of our social channels at Deb and Kev Pod, and you can see how wonderful Deb looks at our YouTube channel, as this episode will go live on Tuesday at Deb and Kev Pod. Mom, I love you to death.
I love you, baby.
We will see you guys on Thursday.
Thank you for listening to the Deb and Kev podcast. Remember to like and subscribe wherever you listen to this podcast. Follow Deb and Kev on Facebook and on Instagram and Twitter at Deb and Kev Pod.